she was a billionaire's daughter, but no one knew she was scrubbing toilets in her own father's company. Why? The truth she uncovered shocked everyone. In the heart of Lagos, where skyscrapers touch the clouds and luxury cars hum through guarded gates, there stood a kingdom, Ugukwa Enterprises, a billion-dollar legacy, built not on privilege but on sacrifice. The king of this empire, Chief Damien Ugukwa, age 68, a name that made boardrooms stand still. Once a boy selling plantains on the street, now a titan of industry. But power, like time, is borrowed, and Damien's health was failing. Parkinson's, late stage, his hands, once firm with vision, now trembled with mortality. He had one fear, that his legacy would rot in greedy hands once he was gone, and so he turned to the only person he could trust, his daughter, Zara Ugochukwu, age 26, Oxford graduate, fashionable, fierce, but sheltered. She grew up in mansions with gold-rimmed staircases, but never saw the engine room of her father's empire. She had his brilliance and her late mother's compassion, but she also carried a burden. She didn't want to be a puppet CEO, not if the strings were soaked in lies. Personal. So Zara disappeared. No press conference, no farewell gala, just a new name, Zainab Musa. She returned, not as a boss, but as a cleaner, wearing a faded blue uniform and sneakers that cost less than her usual morning coffee. Her mission? To clean more than just the floors, to dig through the filth beneath her father's empire and find the truth before time ran out. Broom sweeping, footsteps in echoing corridors. When she met Cheek, age 31, 6 feet tall, lean, a quiet man with tired eyes and the kind of smile you only wear when you've suffered but survived. He mopped the floors by 6 a.m., read old novels on break, and lived in a one-room flat near Yaba with his blind mother. He didn't chase dreams anymore. Dreams cost money, but he never stopped doing the right thing. He didn't know Zara was the billionaire's daughter. He just knew she didn't walk like the other staff. She watched. She cared. And for the first time in her life, Zara felt safe. Suspense creeps in, but not everything in Ugukwa Towers was what it seemed. Dennis Okafor, age 42, head of operations, elegant suits, a voice like honey, but ambition sharper than a dagger. Everyone trusted him, including Zara, until the whispers started. Once Chief Damien's gone, the board belongs to us. Behind the smiles were snakes, plotting, poisoning, waiting. Zara now had two choices: stay silent and protect herself, or risk everything to expose the rot. Every empire has a heartbeat, and at Ugukwa Enterprises, it was the 14th floor, the operations unit. It looked perfect. Clean desks, smiling faces, loyal workers, but behind the polished glass lurked Dennis Okafor, age 42, MBA from Harvard, respected by investors, feared by junior staff, a man who mastered the art of double-faced diplomacy. By day, loyal to Chief Damien. By night, the architect of betrayal. Muffled conversation through a closed door, paper shuffling. A hidden recorder beeps faintly. Dennis recorded calm but venomous. Once the old man's gone, the board will fold. Zara, she's not ready. The company needs real leadership, and I'm the future. Recorder stops. Silence. Then deep exhale. Whispery, urgent. Zara heard it, all of it. Her heart didn't break. It shattered, because Dennis was the last person she trusted. Quiet corridor, footsteps echo, sound of mop dragging. Soft, melancholic, she ran to the only place that felt real, the janitor's room, where the smell of bleach and broken dreams hung in the air. And there was Chika, still wiping the same hallway, still humming that old high-life tune his mother used to sing, still the man behind the mop. Chike wasn't always a janitor. Age 31, once a top accounting student at Unilag, a scholarship kid, brilliant and driven, until one night his father died in a fire, trying to save a neighbor, and with him went Cheek's future. Bills mounted, his mother lost her sight from untreated diabetes. Dreams had to wait. Survival couldn't. So he cleaned. Not because he failed, but because he refused to give up. Light sniffle. Zara saw all of this in his eyes, and something inside her cracked open, but she couldn't tell him who she was. Not yet, because love built on lies never survives the truth. New scene, rooftop, cold wind. Night crickets. Vulnerable, introspective. That night, under the stars, she cried. Not as a CEO's daughter. Not as Zainab Musa, but as a woman, terrified of what she was becoming. Her father was dying. The company was under siege. Her only ally, a man who didn't even know her real name. Wind picks up, distant thunder, and the storm was just beginning. Heavy rain falling outside. Thunder rumbles. Faint sound of office air conditioning hums. low, tense. The storm outside mirrored the one inside Zara's heart. She barely slept. Her father's breath grew weaker by the hour, and Dennis, he was already acting like a king. Every morning, he held emergency meetings, told the board Zara was unavailable, that Chief Damien's mental state was declining fast, that restructuring was necessary, and the board, they didn't question it. They just nodded, feeding off his calm lies, like vultures at a dying feast. Zara watched it all, from shadows, hidden cameras, secret recordings, files stacked in her locker like weapons of truth. But truth is a fragile thing, and so is the heart. That evening, she found comfort again in Cheeky's laughter, in the way he offered her half of his meat pie without knowing she could buy the entire bakery. Cheek, soft, curious. Zanab, you ever feel like you're pretending? Like if people knew who you really were, they'd never look at you the same. Zara doesn't answer, just silence. She wanted to tell him everything, who she was, why she was there, that she loved him, but love, like fire, can burn when lit too soon. Sudden door slam. A voice echoes down the corridor. Mr. Benson, urgent whisper. Zara, you need to see this, now. Zara, in a storage room. Benson closes the door behind them. Papers scatter across the table. A contract, forged, with her father's signature. A secret land deal. If signed, Dennis would own controlling shares. It was happening, faster than she thought. She had 2 days, 2 days, to stop him. And to stop him, she would have to step out of hiding. But there was one more problem. Cut to Cheek, sitting alone. His eyes narrowed. That night, he overheard something he wasn't meant to hear. Female staff whispering, "You didn't know? That girl's not even real. She's not Zanab. She's some big boss's daughter. Watch your back." A long silence. Thunder in the distance. Cheek didn't speak, didn't move. But inside, his trust cracked like glass. And the woman he was falling for was now the biggest question of all. A breath. And in that pause, Zara stood between two fires. Love and truth. And one of them was about to explode. Early morning city buzz, tense violin undercurrent. Slow, tense. It was a Monday. But not just any Monday. It was the day the empire would rise. Or fall. Zara had barely slept. Her father lay unconscious, breath ragged, in a hospital bed. Time was no longer a luxury. And Dennis, he had called a full board meeting. 1 hour from now. The forged documents were ready. The coup was in motion. Zara walked in, not as a cleaner, but as herself. Hair tied back, black blazer, no makeup, just fire in her eyes, and truth in her hands. Boardroom, whispering executives. Dennis standing confidently. A gavel taps on wood. Dennis, cool, rehearsed. Ladies and gentlemen of the board, as Chief Damien remains unresponsive, and with no official heir currently assuming duties, I propose the transfer of operational leadership to myself. Door slams open, footsteps echo, all heads turn. Zara, calm but loud. Not so fast. Mr. Okafor gasps. Papers rustle. Silence. All eyes widened. Zanab Musa was gone. Standing there now was Zara Yugachuku, the CEO's only daughter, and she had come for war. Zara places USB on the table. She played it. Every hidden recording, Dennis plotting, forging, lying. The room fell into chaos. One board member dropped their pen. Another stood speechless. Dennis froze. He stuttered, blamed others, denied everything. But it was too late. Security walked in, and Dennis, the man who thought he'd win it all, was escorted out in silence. Shift. Quiet office hallway. Zara steps into the elevator alone. Exhausted. It was over. The storm had passed. But some storms don't end with thunder. They end in silence. And that silence hurt more, because Cheek, he was gone. Scene, janitor closet, empty. His name tag left behind. A note taped to the door. One handwritten note. I don't know who you really are, or what part of it was ever real, but it felt real to me. Goodbye, Zara. Faint wind. Zara, sitting alone. She won the war, but lost the one person who saw her. Not as a CEO, not as a daughter, just as herself. Silence. Then, a deep breath. A knock on a hospital room door. She went to her father, held his frail hand, and whispered, Zara, choked up. Dad, I did it, but I don't know if I did it right. The masks were off. The truth was out. And somewhere out there was a man who loved her before he ever knew her name. Reflective. She had everything. The company. The name. The truth. But her heart was hollow. A week had passed. The board hailed her as a heroine. Her father opened his eyes again. Investors were back. The empire was healing. But inside, Zara was falling apart. Because the one person she did it all with, in silence, wasn't there to see it. Scene shift. Zara stepping out of a black car. The sound of her heels replaced by dirt roads. She traded her blazer for jeans, let her hair breathe in the wind, and walked through Yaba, where the real Lagos lives. Knock on a metal door. A woman opened it, elderly, blind in one eye, but her voice was kind. Mama Cheek, smiling. "You're the girl from his story, eh?" He used to say. "She's not like them. She sees the world different." Zara's breath catches, but he wasn't home. He was on the rooftop. Scene transition. Stairs creaking, then soft rooftop breeze. Pigeons fluttering. There he stood, back to her, in an old t-shirt, reading a worn-out novel. She froze, heart pounding. 1,000 rehearsed speeches gone. Zara, quietly. Cheek. He turns. Silence. Just the wind. He looked at her, not with anger, but with hurt. The kind of hurt that comes from loving someone who didn't trust you with the truth. Zara, teary, honest. "I lied, but not about how I felt. You saw the real me before I ever did. And if I have to mop every floor in this city to earn your trust again, I will." Cheek walks to her. Chike, soft, breaking. "You could have told me, Zara. I would have followed you. Not for your name, but for your heart." He reaches out, wipes her tear. And in that moment, on a cracked rooftop, above the noise of the city, two people found something rarer than gold. A second chance. Scene shift. Rooftop wedding. Friends gathered, strings playing. Chief Damien in a wheelchair, smiling. Weeks later, in the very place where truth met love, they said, "I do." Not as cleaner and heiress, not as lies and legacies, but as two hearts that refused to settle for anything less than real. Closing scene. Zara, standing at the CEO window, Cheek beside her, holding her hand. Ugukwa Enterprises survived, but more importantly, so did the truth. So did love. And from that day forward, they led, not with power, but with purpose, based on the story of every soul who dared to love beyond status. The legacy we leave behind. They say every legacy begins with a name, but the truest ones begin with a decision. To do what's right when no one's watching. To love honestly, even when it's easier to hide. To stand for something, even if it costs everything. Scene. Zara, walking through the company floor, now brighter, more open. Staff smiling, hopeful energy. Under Zara's leadership, Ugukwa Enterprises became more than just a business. It became a family. Corrupt managers were gone. Junior staff now had voices, and the rooftop, once a place of secret tears, became a space for open dreams. Cut to Chief Damien watching the sunrise in his garden. Chief Damien lived to see it all. Not the empire he built, but the daughter he raised, now stronger than any CEO could ever be. He passed away months later. Not with regret, but with peace, because the torch was in safe hands. Scene. Cheek in a classroom, mentoring youth. Zara, watching proudly from the back. And Chike, he didn't need a title. He found purpose in guiding others. He opened a non-profit for underprivileged youth, taught them math, morals, and how to dream again. He and Zara built a life not just on love, but on shared mission. Montage, wedding photos, team celebrations, rooftop community garden blooming. Some say fairy tales are just fiction, but maybe they're just truths that take longer to find. Zara and Cheeky weren't perfect. They had scars, secrets, failures, but they chose each other every day. And maybe that's the real legacy. Not wealth, not buildings, not headlines, but hearts, healed, held, and honest. So ask yourself, what will you be remembered for? The power you chased or the truth you protected? Because one day, when the world forgets the suits and the status, all that remains is love and the light you left behind. Inspired by the courage to love without masks.